Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast. We are live at 5 on a Monday evening. That's got a good ring to it. I might use that again sometime to discuss Forest Forest being into the fourth round of the FA Cup, but more importantly, the huge game against Liverpool tomorrow night under the lights at the City Ground. Dare I say, a title-challenging game. We will discuss all of that, chat through all of it as ever. Joined first of all by Forest Trust board member Steve Bennett. Steve, good to have you back on, mate. How are you feeling? And you must be loving talking about Forest at the minute, mate.
It's fantastic, Max. I mean, what could be better? And flipping out, there's a little bit of me starting to get nervous about tomorrow night, which is ludicrous because it's not that it's the first Forest Liverpool game I've ever been to in 500 years of supporting the team. But what a fixture! And I looked at the weather forecast earlier, and it's due to be misty, which has got to be an omen, hasn't it?
Yes. Absolutely, Steve. I just think the atmosphere is going to be electric. Mist rolling in from the Trent and all of that. Good omen. Also joined by Sara Brown. Sarah, good to see you. And I was about to say, Sarah, we should have started a couple of minutes ago, but we had technical difficulties here, there, and everywhere because of your camera and my mic. But good to be here. How are you? Are you ready for tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'm really nervous though. The nerves are starting to build, I think, because it's a free hit, but it's not, is it? Because we're all dreaming, aren't we? Definitely.
We are. No, we're absolutely dreaming. I did a piece earlier for BBC Sport actually about kind of Forest and can we actually mount for the title challenge? Can we mount a title challenge? And it was just crazy actually saying it. I kind of sat on the fence because obviously we're not completely out of the picture, we know that, and everyone's writing us off, but it would just be unbelievable. But a win tomorrow, and it could change it all. Right, we'll go back to Liverpool, and we'll talk about it later on in the podcast. But we've got to touch on the Luton game with Forest through to the fourth round now of the FA Cup. A nice little away trip to Exeter. Let the battle of the tickets commence. That'll be harder to get, I think, than Luton or Bournemouth. So we'll see about that one. But a nice little cup tie there set up for Forest. Sarah, you were at the Luton game. What did you make of it? Obviously, a whole scale of changes from Nuno, but maybe a good sign that Forest kind of, according to my dad, never really got out of second gear, and there was players in there that showed that they could maybe feature in the Premier League first 11 as well.
Yeah, it was a comfortable game, is there a bit of an echo or?
No, you're all good, Sarah. Okay, perfectly clear.
Sorry, that's okay. It was a comfortable game. It was nice to go and watch us and think, we'll just win this. I don't know. I mean, I didn't even see it being a banana skin. I don't know about you guys, but yeah. And there was actually some Luton fans sat behind me because behind me is like hospitality, and they'd come to see Wood, wanted to watch his young lad. He was about 8. It was like Chris Wood's going to come on. He was so excited about seeing Chris Wood. I mean, wow. So, but I turned around to them and said, this 11 that we've made, 11 changes, if they had a run in the Premier League, I actually think they might even stay up.
Yeah, it's a very good point actually. And I was speaking to a mate, and I said, "Do you think the 11 that played against Luton would be an 11 that could take Forest almost into the latter stages of the FA Cup, albeit the look of the look of the draw may have to be on our side. But then you have the benefit of playing a second team; it's still doing well, and then we talk about if we're near the quarterfinals or possibly even later on, and you talk about actually we play a full strength side now, and you've got a chance to get to Wembley in the semis and have a brilliant cup run. So. One of those. Steve, what did, obviously, you weren't there, but I'm sure you've seen the highlights. I'm sure you saw a lot of the changes. What did you make to that game? And also, do you think Forest should be taking the FA Cup seriously? Maybe if we were mid-table, you'd be thinking, yeah, let's take the cup seriously, let's have a cup run. But at the minute, we're kind of fighting up there. So is it a distraction, or is it almost just let's keep it going and let's keep winning football games, and I suppose it transfers into the league?
I don't think it's a distraction, and I think both the club and Nuno really value the FA Cup, don't they? I think what was great for me, and as you say, I wasn't there, but looking at the highlights, it was a change of 11 players, but to exactly the same system, and everybody knew what they were doing. They knew their position. And I go back to the away game at Everton, when the team that finished on the pitch at Everton was pretty much, if we call them the second team that started against Luton, you know, most of the sort of big hitters, if we call them, had been taken off or were substituted. And Everton were pretty poor that day, but we didn't look troubled at all in that last sort of 20, 25 minutes when all the substitutes came on. So isn't it fantastic that we've got 22, 23, 24 players who all have, they all know what the positions are, they all know what they're doing, they're all being properly coached, they all seem to get on, there doesn't seem to be any dispute within the squad, and they're all moving forward together. So for me, it's a great opportunity, the FA Cup, to give those players more run-outs. I think it was a great shame that we lost to Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, because that would have helped the fitness and everything about some of those second string players. I hate to call them that, but second string players. Because we're not going to go injury free between now and the end of the season, are we? And we need those players to step in and you know, keep whatever run it is that we're on, and we're going to keep going, just to keep that run going. So I think it was great. That's what, 3 games, or is it 4 games now with a clean sheet, which is fantastic. The interesting thing I think that came about it, has he said that Carlos Miguel will be the cup goalkeeper? I read that somewhere.
Yeah, I think Nuno was asked, as far as I'm aware, Steve, Nuno was asked about it, and he said we'll see, but he'll definitely be getting kind of a good run in the cup. So,
okay,
assuming that he is, probably.
Yeah. So Matt Sells can come back in for the final at the end of May then. Perfect.
Absolutely. Have you already booked Wembley for then, Steve?
No, but I've got 2 kids who live and work in London now, so there's always a floor space I can get.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
And yes, you can, before you ask. Yeah.
What, can I stop there as well, Steve?
No
Perfect.
problem.
Lovely. Thanks. Sarah, you might want an invite. In terms of the game, Sarah, who actually stood out for you? Obviously, there was lots of changes. Steve mentions there Miguel being in goal, but Ramon Sosa getting on the score sheet, Jota Silva having a good game. A lot of changes. Eric Da Silva Moreira as well. My dad said he was kind of had a great game. So who kind of stood out for you? Who really impressed? And you thought, actually, if you put them into the Forest 11 at the minute, they wouldn't look out of place?
Well, I suppose the easy one to say is Sosa, because he got an assist and a goal. I don't think I couldn't mention him. Although, actually noticing on the pitch, obviously Jota just goes for everything, doesn't he? I do like him. He's like a terrier. But yeah, Taiwo, I thought he didn't kind of follow through from the Wolves game, because he looked really good as soon as he came on at Wolves. He looked like he was going to score straight away. I didn't quite see that. But they just were all quite comfortable, weren't they, really? So I don't know. Probably Jota, because he got the assist. And Sosa looked really good. It's hard, isn't it? Because I like I said, I thought that squad, that team could do quite well. But I think, again, it's the subs that are really important, that we've got a really strong sub bench. And if you flip it, the first 11 that we put out is as good as they are because of the sub bench, isn't it? Yeah. So I think, I don't know. I think they all did well. I thought they did well. I can't really say that I could single out one person. You know, Sosa for his assist and his goal, and I think Sosa probably we haven't seen the best in him because he hasn't had a really good run in the team. I mean, obviously, Morato, I think he's great. I think he would be absolutely fine in the first 11. And when he comes on, he shows that and proves that. But I probably don't really see him. It's like me saying Ryan Yates would do well, isn't it? They are in our first 11, I would say, really. And even probably Jota so much, you know, because he does come on and get the 20 minutes. But yeah, probably, Morato without a doubt.
Yeah. absolutely. No, totally agree. Steve, when we talk about a player like Ramon Sosa, and it must be difficult for Nuno to keep everyone happy at the minute, and players will be chomping at the bit to try and get on, but he is young, he's enjoying his football, and it's credit again, isn't it, to Forest recruitment in the summer to bring him in, but also you look at him and, you know, as Sarah says there, he could do a job if he needed to start games. Yes, it's only Luton, no disrespect to them. They're a struggling Championship side at the minute, but he gets a goal, he gets an assist. That's everything you want from the players that will be on the bench. It almost adds to our squad depth and knows that you can trust those players if needed.
I mean, I think it's great. I mean, think of what happened at Everton when Murillo got injured in the warm-up and he turned to Ramon Sosa to play that game. And he played really well. He didn't look out of place. They changed the formation to bring him in because my guess was they were going to play 5 at the back or a three plus sort of 2 wing backs, but they went back to a back 4. So Nuno's obviously got confidence in him, and that showed on Saturday. And I don't think there's anyone who played on Saturday who couldn't do a job in the first team, if we call it that, in the Premier League. And that's all because, for me, they all know what their job is. They all know what they're going to do. And so huge credit to Nuno and the rest of the coaching team that they've got that. And a word that we've not been able to use for a couple of seasons, that they've got that discipline to come on, play a position and stick with that position, stick with that role. I mean, you know, think about the Wolves game that we scored that early goal. Wolves had quite a bit of pressure. I never thought we looked in real danger of losing it, but they stuck to the job that they'd been given. They stuck to their tasks. They stuck to the tactics that they'd been given, and we ended up a pretty comfortable win in the end, 3-0. So what a time to be a Forest fan, flipping out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was me the other week talking about whether Forest were going to do a Forest against Luton. I had this nasty feeling, but there you go. That's just the pessimistic Forest voice in me. And I just don't know. I just think, as I've said before, this season feels different, doesn't it? Sarah, when Steve mentions there about players coming on and almost, I suppose we go back to Steve Cooper's next man up mentality phrase, but Nuno and the coaching staff have done such a good job, haven't they, of having that team spirit. And obviously you saw with Wolves, with Taiwo's goal, we're going to get onto Danilo as well, featuring in a minute, of course, but we saw with Taiwo's goal away at Wolves, the way the players were around him and supporting him and everyone was there. There was that togetherness, and that just must be, you know, so important at the minute, isn't it? Because if Forest do want to continue this unbelievable run we're on and having this unbelievable season, then the team spirit and togetherness is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like I want to get hold of them all and just keep them all together. Nothing change. So, the best business we could do this window is to get the ones that we need to sign back up, I think. Maybe keep the squad together. I'd like to see Taiwo stay, unless there is somebody going to come in as a striker. But we really don't want to unbalance it. Like you say, Taiwo is obviously a really popular guy, and it's so important, that camaraderie, isn't it? Nobody's too big for the boots. There's some big characters in that team, you know, that have played for some big teams in the past, and everybody is on the same page, aren't they? It's absolutely fantastic to see, and I just love them all, really. And Ola Aina is just second to him. He's brilliant, isn't he? His TikToks and everything, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think honestly, it's great viewing his Snapchat. If you've got Snapchat, which I don't know, Steve, you might. I don't know if you're down with the kids, but if you've got Snapchat, there's some great videos on Olarena's story. So get on that. But I'm not sure.
Sorry to disappoint you, Max. I've got most social media, but I've not yet succumbed to Snapchat. Sorry, mate.
It's all right,
I've
mate.
got it, but I don't use it. I always see them. Somebody always put them on TikTok or Instagram for me. Yeah. I see them secondhand.
Absolutely.
Do you have
same, Sarah?
Do you have TikTok, Steve?
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Good. Right, moving on. In fact, you can let us know in the comments on Garibaldi Red if you're over 50 and you're a Forest fan and you've got Snapchat. Let's talk about
to be only over 50. Flipping out.
Let's talk about Danilo, and obviously what a massive moment for him and everyone in the ground, and you could hear the chants on Radio Nottingham listening. It was just brilliant, just to see him obviously come on. He gets injured in that first game of the season. We didn't know how long it's going to be. It's maybe a little bit quicker than we probably imagined, but he's back. The chants about Danilo, they were singing it in the Wolves away, and the Forest fans as well. Even obviously he's not featured then, but they're still singing "We're all together with him." Just a brilliant moment. Steve, I mean, when you think about Danilo, and he could possibly feature for the rest of the season, but having him back in the squad, and possibly back in the starting 11, it's just another big boost, isn't it, to the squad? And you think the team morale must be kind of at an all-time high with that.
Well, it's like a new signing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a January window new signing. And the other forgotten player is Sangare. And think that the first home game of the season, the midfield two, were Danilo and Sangare. So they must have both had a really good pre-season, and Nuno must believe in both of them that they were going to be the midfield front, two. So hopefully Sangare will come back at some stage, and he'll be another new signing. So fantastic. And with the players that we've currently got, I mean, I thought it was really interesting for me that Dominguez didn't play on Saturday, because that confirms to me that Dominguez, with his performances over the last few months, is absolutely in that first team squad with Anderson and Gibbs White, and that it's Yates that's going to have to fight for his place back in. But to have Danilo and then Sangare come back at some stage, it's just more competition in midfield, which is already a very strong and really well-balanced midfield. So fantastic stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think, Sarah, obviously, we talk about not wanting to disrupt the squad, but as Steve says, Danilo was a first-team starter at the start of the season before that opening game. I can remember that brilliant goal he scored away at Brentford as well last season. He was instrumental, really, in Forest staying up towards the tail end of that season. Can you see him coming back, Sarah? Do you think do you think Nuno could trust him in the next couple of weeks once he gets back to kind of full match fitness?
I think he would trust him, but he certainly wouldn't be on for the full 90, would he? But I suppose there's quite a few in front of him probably that would get on before him. So, I mean, he's a great player, isn't he? I mean, I wouldn't like to second guess Nuno. I think whatever he does is going to be the right decision. That's just, yeah. I mean, Danilo looked good when he came on. He looked he looked really sharp. I was quite surprised. It wasn't just a token, let's put you on and see how you go. He did actually, make some good tackles and he played quite well. So, yeah, but it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because there's quite a few that have put their hand up for that position in the first 11 and also on the bench. So I suppose we'll just have to see how it plays out. And I think, talking about Sangare as well, hasn't he still got the most interceptions or something from the first few games he played, or percentage rate, because he played that well at the beginning of the season? I might be wrong now, but last time I heard he was still quite high up there.
Yeah, I mean, you're testing my stat knowledge, to be honest, Sarah. I have no idea, so it's all right. So somebody watching live might be able to tell us. But you're right, and you just wonder with Sangare, don't you, as well, whether he would come back into the starting 11 once he returns.
Again, I don't know. I mean, why would you try and fix something that's not broken? That's how I'd see it. I mean, the way we're playing at the moment, I can't see and. Liverpool tomorrow night. It's going to be the first team on that sheet and subs, isn't there? There's going to be none of this, sentimental putting anybody on the bench or anything. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be games where he can play a part in, but I suppose it just depends on how his development goes over his recovery goes over the next few weeks.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
What injuries we get.
Yeah, definitely. Football's unpredictable, so it's it's good to have that squad depth for Forest. We'll get on to Liverpool very shortly. Steve, what did you make to Exeter though? It's a nice little draw, that.
It's a nice little draw. I'd love to go. I think we'll get, is it just over 1,300 tickets, won't we? Because it's 15% of their capacity, which is 8,700 or something. Yeah, but I mean, if I could get a ticket, I'd probably go. because I've never been to Exeter, but flipping heck, it's a trek. And it'll be interesting there, won't it, to see. I guess he'll put out the same team. Why would you do anything else at that stage? Because it gives the first team players another break, which is fantastic. If we carry on as we're doing at the moment, even if we slip a little bit, but we still, keep a good high points ratio per game, then it's another free hit. But it gives us the opportunity, doesn't it, to progress into that competition. And let's be honest, we would all sit here now and go, whichever team we put out, we should beat Exeter, even though it's away.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if it was on telly. Actually, it's kind of, you'd think it would be a proper cup, a proper little cup tie, really, on telly.
A Thursday night or Friday night to make it really easy for the fans to get there and back.
Yeah, down to Cornwall. Well, I suppose people could make it into a weekend away, but it'd be a bit cold, wouldn't it, to go on the beach and have an ice cream and go in the sea and all of that. I don't know if there'll be many people swimming if Ryan Yates heads one him. It cracked me. You never know. It cracked me up actually on Twitter. Some Exeter fan tweeted, which made me think kind of how far Forest have come. He put on Twitter, "My toxic trait is thinking that Exeter can beat Forest, but arguably this is the best team in the country right now." And I thought, wow, best team in the country. He was saying that Forest, obviously right given the form, but just mental that you're reading that, Steve.
Max, it's best team in Europe, mate. Did you see that tweet? 7 wins on the trot is better than Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, anyone else in Europe. We are currently on form the best team in Europe.
Absolutely. There you go. I keep pinching myself every time and even at work, I'm trying to fit in title contenders or title chasing Nottingham Forest where I can. I've got it in 3 or 4 times so far in the past few weeks, so I'm going to keep that up. Right, let's talk Liverpool. Obviously, let's put the FA Cup to bed. We'll pick it back up in the next few weeks when we need to. But let's talk Liverpool. Sarah, how big almost is this week for Forest? How big is the game tomorrow? You say you're nervous. It is a free hit. Yes, the pressure's on Liverpool. But as you said at the start, we're all daring to dream and we're all thinking maybe the unthinkable.
Yeah, I think we are, aren't we? And that's the beauty of football. We're all thinking we're all quite confident. I mean, I'm talking to Forest fans and they're all quite confident. I mean, when did that happen against Liverpool? So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one of them. Sometimes when I'm confident, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't be. But yeah, big massive game because it suddenly does become the reality that we are title chasing and we aren't just having a good half season. And if we don't win tomorrow, that probably does take us out of a title challenge, but we're still, up there, hopefully top 4, top 5. But God, if we win, they are going to have to take us seriously, aren't they? The media. None of this, but Forest aren't in the title race. We will be thoroughly. Why we're not even being discussed in that way now, I don't understand at all. Because they don't say, is Arsenal in the title race when they're on the same amount of points and in poor form compared to us? I mean, you've just mentioned the form. If we win tomorrow, that will just be amazing. I mean, I suppose I'd be disappointed with a draw. How mad is that? How mad? But we're definitely in Slot's head, aren't we? So I think he's going there trying to get 3 past us, and hopefully we'll pick them off and we'll have a bit of luck again, because we've definitely rode our luck a little bit. Certainly first half against Wolves, and then when we did the sucker punch with Wood, I couldn't stop giggling. I couldn't stop laughing. I was just like, it just made me laugh because it was like, I can't believe that. It was just unbelievable. But that's what teams get, don't they? You get the run, you get the luck. So it's with us, and I'm hoping it stays with us tomorrow night. We carry on playing like we've been playing, and I think we should get something out of it if we do.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned there the media and kind of that, and they've maybe not given Forest enough credit or are considering that Forest are in a title race. Steve, do you think the media have been a little bit harsh on Forest this season?
I don't. I think at the beginning of the season they were unnecessarily harsh. I mean, if you think we did that, I think I did one of your early sort of pre-season podcasts, and we were looking for predictions about where we'd finished, and we talked about 11th to 14th or something like that, and everyone else had us to get relegated, which I didn't believe would happen. I think I don't think anyone's believed it, and if we win tomorrow night, they'll sort of have to believe it. And it's fascinating, isn't it? Because I think everybody else in the league probably wants us to beat Liverpool tomorrow night. Because if we lose to Liverpool and they then win their game in hand against Everton, then they'd be 12 points clear of us, which is middle of the season, because the Liverpool Everton's game been announced, hasn't it, for a couple of weeks' time. So I think if we lose to Liverpool, I've no doubt that Liverpool go on and win the league. If we win tomorrow night, we have a chance, because it just sets up that little bit of doubt in and around the Liverpool environment, which is exactly the tactics that we used at Anfield on that day. We squeezed them for the first 60 minutes. Nuno played really narrow, got them frustrated. They were beginning to argue amongst themselves. They made some substitutions. He brought Elanga and Hudson-Odoi on, and we scored the goal. And, what a day. What absolutely fantastic. I believe we can win tomorrow night. I believe we will win tomorrow night. Am I being silly? No, I think we will win tomorrow night. But I'd happily take a draw, and I wouldn't start crying if we lost. But I do think that we can and we will win tomorrow night.
Can we do it, Sarah? Do you think we can win tomorrow?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think the City ground will be absolutely rocking. Yeah. Everybody will be up for it. We'll be definitely the 12th, 13th and 14th man tomorrow, without a doubt. Under the lights. Steve just said it's going to be misty earlier. So it's all on for us, isn't it? You've got Trent, Van Dijk, Salah not signed the contracts. I've heard there's a bit of unrest going on between them, because I think Van Dijk's, this is all hearsay, but obviously, of course it is. But Van Dijk's been fairly quiet about his contract, whereas Salah and Trent, they possibly... I was listening to a podcast this morning with Liverpool, and we're in their heads, definitely. They're saying they don't really talk about any other team apart from Forest this year. Well, obviously as much as they're talking about Forest when they're playing them. And they're watching our game. I think they watched the game against Man U. This podcast, there was 3 of them on, and a Forest fan, and so we're definitely getting in their heads. I definitely think, and I think if we're getting in their heads, we're getting in slots, because it's the only team he's lost to all 2024, isn't it? Including is it Feyenoord he used to manage? So of course we can do it. Definitely, we're at the City ground. Let's get it rocking. Let's get 1-0. Yeah, lovely. I've got a nephew who's a Liverpool fan, so my text is ready.
Yes, absolutely.
And did you see the papers on Sunday? Sorry, I read the paper. I took my mum's paper on Sunday, the Mail, and it had our chant in there that we'd been singing on.
Yes, I saw it. Yes, I did, about you. Yeah, I'm sure Forest fans can finish it off. We're coming for you.
We're coming for you.
Yeah, and honestly, you could hear that chant not only on Saturday but also on the telly away at Wolves. Honestly, it was so loud you could hear it. Brilliant. Steve, in terms of how Forest will set up, you look back at the last league game. Can you see Ryan Yates almost replacing Dominguez, or can you see it being very much the same team against Wolves?
Same team as against Wolves, no shadow of a doubt. I think Yates will be on the bench. I also don't think Trent will play, because he played in the FA Cup whenever Liverpool played in the FA Cup, and he was captain. I wouldn't be surprised if Arne Slot doesn't play Conor Bradley at right back instead. And for me, the fascinating battle will be probably something like Murillo, whether he can get hold of Mo Salah. And it's a challenge that he'll absolutely love. But for me, it'll be the same team as we put out against Wolves. I don't think it'll be the same result. But although it'd be nice, but the same team, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder what the odds are for Forest to beat Liverpool 3-0 tomorrow. I will have to have a look. Sorry, that's someone ringing me.
I'll tell you in a minute. Keep chatting, I'll check.
Go on, keep talking, Steve. Keep having a look.
No. Pass over to Sarah, and I'll have a look at the odds.
I think.
Okay,
Well, I was going to say Steve's right about Trent. That's what they were saying. They don't think he'll play. They'll think Conor Bradley will play.
I think as well, Sarah, you mentioned it a short while ago, but the pressure is on Liverpool, isn't it? Really, Forest almost have this kind of free hit. Obviously it's completely different, but it slightly reminds me. So when Forest went away to Bournemouth towards the end of the season, we got promoted, and kind of the pressure was on Bournemouth, and it, if Forest had won, we'd have taken it to the last game, we'd have taken it into that automatic promotion race. But there's just that feeling that we can kind of rock up and we'll just see what happens in a way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Liverpool already feel like I think the title is in their hands, don't they? Almost, they're touching it, aren't they? There's nobody really competing for it apart from Arsenal, and I think Man City is going to come good, and I'm sure Chelsea will turn their their last few games around. But it's theirs to lose at the moment, isn't it? If they win tomorrow, they've got quite a big gap, and then it puts the pressure on Arsenal. Are they playing Tottenham? Because I think I was listening to something else and they were saying there's a London derby this week, Tottenham Arsenal, but that's not the main game. The main game is title contenders Forest and Liverpool. And I'm listening to this thinking, who would have thought that that's the biggest game this year of this week? Not Arsenal Tottenham, but Liverpool Forest. Liverpool.
Unbelievable.
66-1, Max, is your answer.
66-1 for Forest
for a 3-0 win.
Oh, 3-0.
Yes, not just to win.
I bet it's still about 5-1 just for us to win, is it?
14-1, 1-0. That's Paddy Power. Other bookmakers are available.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, and obviously bet responsible if you're going to bet tomorrow. Right. Well, in fact, before we talk about Marinakis and a few other bits and pieces coming out of Forest, give us a prediction, both. I'm going to go 1-0 Forest. What do you think, Sarah?
Well, I was going to say 1-0, but I'm going to go 2-1 now.
Steve?
2-1.
We will take that.
I mean, if you do fantasy football league, and you've got, it absolutely wrecked my selections this week because I used to have 3 Liverpool players and 3 Forest players, so I've had to change everything around. But yeah.
I'm leaving it. I'm superstitious, so I'm leaving Trent in because whenever I have him in, I had him at the start of the season, he was rubbish. I took him out and he starts scoring.
Yeah,
put him back in, and he's rubbish again.
Put him back
in. So
if only just for this week, please.
Exactly. He's back in. Don't worry. He's back in. He was in last game. Rubbish.
Right. We're going to get on to Marinakis in a minute. We'll just read out a few comments. Jamie says, we need to enjoy the game tomorrow. Let's not put pressure on ourselves. It's a great time to be a Forest fan. Alex says, Slot didn't stop talking about Forest. And the earlier game in the Liverpool press conference. Yeah, saw that. This one, a couple of young backup strikers is probably all we need right now. Let's talk Marinakis because quite a bit of, nice news that's come out of the club, and I will read it, so I'll make sure I get it all spot on. But Evangelos Marinakis has converted another £72 million worth of loans into share capital at Forest at the club. That's just over a week after he had done it with the same 82 million. He basically converts that from debt to equity. There's no interest on it in terms of, I'm not a financial man, but it's good news. It means that it kind of writes it off, and Forest are in a good position financially. I'd recommend listening and watching Kieran Maguire, who is the football financial expert. You might have seen him on various other podcasts and things. He did a great bit about Forest, and he's put some stuff on social media. So have a read of that if you fancy the ins and outs. But again, Steve, it just shows the ambition from Mr. Marinakis. It shows that we're in a good place off the pitch as well as being on the pitch at the minute. It kind of all going well.
Yeah, completely, and it backs up everything he said that was all a bit unbelievable the day after we got promotion. All those words he said on the council, the council house celebration about he was going to support, was going to provide the funds, there was ambition, etc., etc. I mean, it all goes hand in hand with that, and let's be honest, huge credit to him. Long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, and Steve obviously talks about that, Marinakis showing the ambition when we got promoted. Almost, has he proven people wrong with that? Has he proven, because he was very much criticised for having that ambition and saying that Forest would be in Europe in the next couple of seasons. But albeit this unbelievable season continues and Forest did finish in Europe, then a lot of people, a lot of pundits will be regretting probably what they said.
Max, do you mean will, not did?
Of course, will.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I stood in the market square listening to him and believed every single word he said, because he delivered so far. It might have taken him 5 years?
Yeah.
It took him longer than he expected, but he will deliver Europe of some description, whether that is this season or next year, or if he doesn't get it this year, he's going to make sure he gets it next year as much as possible. I just don't think the media are keen on him, but I don't know whether it's because he is outspoken, he wears his heart, on his sleeve, he says what he thinks. He probably doesn't always think before he says something, hence the tweet after Everton last year, if that was him. Obviously, I don't know. But in one way, I like that. I really like it, and I like being a bit controversial, and I like it that we're not one of the big six. Is there a big six now or a big four? They seem to be able to say and do what they want, and nobody really has much to say. But little old Forest, they've come up and he said those things, and yeah, I think they did laugh at us a bit, but I stood there as a Forest fan thinking, I believe every word he's saying. It was just euphoric, wasn't it, at the time? Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to Simon Jordan's apology on TalkSport.
We'll never get one.
Yeah, well, invite him on the podcast and we can have a chat with him. Just finally, before we go, we didn't touch on it in the last podcast because of kind of the crossover and everything like that, but Nuno getting Premier League Manager of the Month again and kind of dedicating it to the staff. Steve, fantastic for him and fully deserved. Just another nice thing that gives Forest recognition in a way.
And I think also gives him recognition. I mean, he's a very, very humble guy, and he's very straightforward, and he seems to be very, very calm. But he deserves huge amounts of credit for what he's been able to do, with a lots of help from lots and lots of people, both in terms of the playing staff, the training staff, and behind the scenes. There's a calmness at the club, isn't there? Which seems to stem from him, which is a completely different scenario than how it was, say, even a year ago when he first came in, or soon after he first came in. So fully deserved, delighted for him. I mean, we did win 5 games in December. Nobody else did that, so it was unlikely anybody else was going to get it. But what a fantastic accolade, and it's his second one of the season, which is again, so it's not just sort of a flash in the pan or that sort of thing. So we deserve to be where we are. Let's hope he wins a couple more in the next half of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And we shall see after tomorrow as well. Thank you both, as ever. Great points discussed, 38 minutes, all about Luton, the FA Cup, and of course Liverpool tomorrow. It's a bit of a mad one tomorrow. We're doing a podcast, and I'm hoping to bring you some kind of audio reaction after the game, particularly if we win. Getting back to Manchester will be late, but trying to do a podcast after the game, I will try my absolute hardest. It might be an audio only one, it might be one recorded from a car on the way back up here, but we'll try and do that, and then hopefully, all being well, Mark might be able to bring you a podcast as well. That's because Wednesday I'm kind of out of action all day, so bit of a difficult one to talk about Forest Liverpool after. I'm on the 6:30 train from Manchester to London, Steve, and I'm sure I won't get back till gone maybe even 1 o'clock. And I don't think I'm going to sleep much if Forest win.
No, but it won't matter, will it?
Well, exactly, yeah.
You'll probably do as I did after the Wolves game and get home and go, I'm going to watch it another couple of times on telly before I go to bed, and go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. But as Sarah said, just sort of sit there, just grinning and smiling and laughing and going, let's enjoy it, because it's absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely. Let's enjoy it. We shall see. Like I say, we'll try and be back tomorrow. Steve, thank you. Sarah, thank you. Let's hope all of our predictions are right. And on another good day for Forest, as Marinakis does what he does and shows more ambition to the club, Forest hope to beat Arne Slot's Liverpool and do the double. It would be nice. Are Forest in a title chase? Maybe after tomorrow. We'll see you then. You Reds.